Last week, my production company, OG Films, crossed its 5th year in business. 5 years that we've been doing this, which is absolutely crazy to say. It doesn't feel like it's been 5 years, half a decade since I started this thing, and I've been working for myself and getting paid to produce amazing videos and amazing content for people. So what I wanted to do today was break down what I believe to be the 5 biggest lessons that I've personally learned and professionally, to be honest, over that half a decade running the business, in the hopes that if it is your goal to grow and build a stable and successful business that can sustain you over the long term, that you avoid maybe some of the mistakes that I think a lot of people fall into. If you're new around here, hello, my name is Oliver Whitehouse, or Ollie as most people call me. To date, I'm 5 years deep in the game with the ambition of building a world-class video production company. I've worked with clients all over the UK and internationally, including the US and the UAE. And I also think it's important to mention, with all of the social proof, credibility, authority bullshit out of the way, I have nothing to sell you. I have no course. I have no links in my description. I don't sell a LUT pack. The only reason why I make these videos is to express the knowledge that I now have but did need 5 years ago, in the hopes that if you have similar goals, that it helps you accelerate in that journey. The only thing that I ask is that over the next few minutes, if you find this video helpful in any way at all, that you share it with somebody else that may get value from it, because the only way that this channel grows is by lovely people like you sharing my shit. So let's get into the video, shall we? So lesson number 1 in my 5-year journey, probably one of the biggest lessons that I learned, is to stop worrying about your mission, about your vision, about your purpose, all of this stuff, right? I don't think that that's the thing that you should be focusing on when you first transition from essentially employed to self-employed, right? Personally, I think that the first thing and the first main priority that you should focus on as a brand new business owner is to replace the income that you now don't have from your full-time position, right? That may be a transitionary period of part-time whilst you build. You could just like jump straight into the deep end. It's totally up to you, like how you want to do it. But obviously, the first main priority, because all of us need money to survive, is to replace that income that you now don't have. Your next priority after that point should be to build up 1 year's worth of cash or living expenses that you can then go on to figure out your mission, your vision, your purpose, all of that sort of stuff. Because in my view, typically when you are then establishing those things, vision, mission, all of that, it's a much bigger goal, right? Like our mission within the business and kind of our purpose within the business is to capture and promote life-changing moments, right? Now that could be, that could look quite small in its manifestation, or it could be huge. And for me, it is huge, right? It's the, focusing and working with the biggest events and the biggest clients, where we have the best chance to capture and promote and then distribute on the back end life-changing moments, right? Like, that's a huge ambitious goal. And if I focused on that right from the start, it's a case of like, that goal is way too big for me to focus on, because I have monthly mortgages, I have, rent to pay, I have bills to pay, like all of this sort of stuff. So I don't personally feel like you can properly have clarity on that sort of stuff until you essentially solve your immediate financial needs. The second lesson is client experience over camera choices. Now, obviously, I'm talking from the perspective of a video production company owner. This really is applicable across any service offering, to be honest, but too many people, because they come from that technical background, they focus on getting as good as they possibly can with the technical aspect of their business. Now, for us, that's filming, editing, planning, all of that sort of stuff. I think that you would be better spent, or your time would be better spent, teaching yourself how to deliver an incredible client experience, because ultimately a client could go to 2 different companies and they could get a very similar level of technical experience, right? The videos, in my case, the videos could look very similar. The actual, production style could be very similar. Like, it's not that hard to replicate technical skill, but what is hard to replicate is client experience and the very unique ways in which you as a human will interact with other humans to give them a positive experience, right? Customer service is going to be the thing that drives your business and your revenue and your repeat business over and over and over again. It's the main reason why I think that we've been so successful, because 95% of our clients come back to us for projects year on year on year. We have relationships with clients that have extended all the way through this 5-year period that I've been running the business. And that is so it's such a high level of security because you know that you are compounding a business over time, right? If 95% of the people that you work with come back next year to do the exact same thing, then you know that let's say you've picked up 10 new clients this year, you're going to have those, let's say 90%, right? You're going to have 9 clients come back next year, and hopefully you're probably going to pick up more than 10 because you've learned how to pick up clients better the following year, right? So that means that then the next year you've got, let's say, like 21 clients, and then again and again and again, and it begins to really compound, right? So client experience is above all else when it comes to a service-based business, because ultimately you are in a human-to-human relationship. The only reason why someone's going to give you money is because they know, like, and trust you, and developing a fantastic client experience, in my opinion, is the best way to do that. Number 3 is contract and payment up front. I cannot tell you how long this took me to learn, and I was naive when I first started out because I was trusting that people would stick to their word and say, essentially do what they say they're going to do. That is true 90% of the time, 80% of the time maybe. It's that 10 to 20% that is going to hurt you emotionally, right? It's not only going to hurt you financially, but moreover, it's going to hurt you emotionally, right? You have to get a contract signed, which is essentially all a contract is. People overcomplicate this, but all a contract is Oliver Whitehouse is working with XYZ client. Here's the things they're going to do for this amount of money on these payment terms. And then some legal jargon at the end, right? Signed and signed. It literally gives you a line in the sand where you know exactly what's happening throughout that project. And I cannot tell you how many times this has saved me in the past, where clients were expecting one thing, they got a different thing. We had a conversation about it, and I just took them back to the contract and I said, look, based on the deliverables here, do you think that anything, is essentially out of line? And they can't, because it's in the contract, right? Like, what can you say? You have a document here that you've both signed at a certain point that says, here's what you're going to do for X amount of money. It is as simple as that. And there's nowhere that a client can go here. There's no way that they can say, oh, I remembered the conversation differently, or you said you were going to do this, but now you're saying this. It's like, no, because on the 13th of November, 2025, this is what we both agreed was going to happen. The next layer to this is then payment upfront, right? And the reason why I've kind of chunked these two together is because too many people start projects without getting some form of financial commitment from the clients. Like, a contract is one thing, and that's great if you can get a contract signed. You definitely should do that. But I will not move forward with a project on any level without getting some kind of financial commitment up front, some kind of deposit, essentially you need money in your bank account, because you can argue a contract. You could, realistically, at the level that I currently operate, it's not worth going to small claims or any kind of legal court, right? If essentially, if a client decides they don't want to pay, it's going to cost me more money, right? I would only ever go through court or go through small claims if I was trying to essentially prove a point, right, rather than just get paid, because it's going to cost me that, and they know that, and you know that. So it's kind of like the contract doesn't really do anything other than just give you a guideline to produce deliverables and work on a project. The financial commitment is the client saying, we are moving forward. And you can explain this to them on sales calls, right? It doesn't need to be a case of like, I have to get paid before I work on projects. It's just saying that, like, look, all that we do when we take a deposit for the project is it means that both of us know that this project is moving forward. It means that I can begin to book things. I can begin to organize the team that's going to be responsible for fulfilling this work for you. And ultimately, we both have security here. And we both know that, that this project's moving forward, right? Simple as that. And any decent person, any green flag client that you want to work with will 100% agree with you, right? The final point that I've got on contract and payment upfront is that it gives you and the client both safety and boundaries, right? You are creating boundaries in which you are going to work together over the next X amount of time, right? And that is great for a relationship. Any relationship that you have in your life will have levels of boundaries. And I'm sure that if you've had relationships in the past that haven't worked out, it doesn't have to be romantic, it could just be friendships, that at some point, the reason why that relationship didn't extend to the current present time is because someone somewhere crossed a boundary or did something that the other person deemed unacceptable enough to end that friendship, relationship, whatever that might be, right? The boundaries of the contract and the boundaries of the payment terms are the thing that are going to keep you and your client together, both happy, because that is so important. You can't be unhappy and your clients be happy, because then you're not, and it can't be the other way around, right? It has to be you're both happy, right? It's like positive plus positive equals positive, right? That's the only way that this works. And contract and payment upfront, I've found, is the easiest way to do that. Point number 4 here. This may be difficult for some of you to hear, but this is going to be the hardest thing that you ever do. This is not a walk in the park by any stretch of the imagination. The reason why, I can't remember the stat, but it's like 80% of businesses fail in the first year and 90% of businesses fail in the 5th year, is because this requires every single ounce of effort and energy that you have. There is so many easier ways nowadays to make money than starting your own business, right? And I released a video about this a couple of weeks ago, in that I don't think that most people, and I'm not saying this in a derogatory way, but I don't think that most people are cut out for the level of energy, intensity, of effort, of sacrifice, of pressure, of stress, everything that comes along with simply doing your own thing, right? It is amazing. And I cannot tell you how much I love the life that I have, and I live life on my terms, and I have agency in the things that I decide to do. But there is another side to that coin. And that other side is that this is, without a shadow of the doubt, the hardest thing that I have ever done. Now, I don't have children yet, right? So I'm sure that that is also going to be an extremely challenging thing for me to go through, as well as running the business at the same time. But ultimately, if you are turning a creative passion into a sustained revenue-generating business, that is the hardest thing that you will ever do. And I do feel like most people would be better off doing something that pays them well, that they enjoy doing 9 to 5, and then having their creative passions on a 5 to 9, right? I really do think that that is a better route for most people. Now, if you're watching this video and you're thinking in the back of your head, no, fuck you, which I would be, then you probably know that you're the other way inclined, right? That's probably the easiest way to tell. But I really do think that a lot of people would be much happier and live better lives if they just didn't do this. It's going to be the hardest thing you're ever going to do. So just be aware of that. Wrapping up this video, we are now on to the 5th and final lesson that I've learned over half a decade of running the business. And the final one that I want to leave you with is that some lessons are just unteachable. And what I mean by this is that the easiest example I can think of is this thing of like, money won't make you happy. Every single successful or financially free person says that money won't make you happy. And yet time and time again, humans have to go through that lesson themselves. They think it must be different for me, that you don't understand my problems. You don't understand my particular scenario, right? If I just had this, if I just had that, then I'll be happy. Like, some lessons are just unteachable, and you have to go through them. You have to feel that lesson on an emotional level in order for it to register as something, as a lesson, right? There is only so much that people can teach you. There is only so many things that you can take on board from a verbal perspective before you just have to go out there and you just have to feel it. And probably a lot of these lessons are unteachable lessons. I can sit here and tell you that you have to stop worrying about the mission, but ultimately you have to go through a year of trying to figure out what the fuck your mission is without actually sustaining your income, right? Ultimately, you have to have a project go wrong because you focus too much on the technical and not enough on the client experience, and now your client's not happy. There are going to be lessons that I can't impart, or I could impart, but it just doesn't matter. Like, you'll just say like, well, that's different because XYZ, or that's different because of ABC, right? You have to go through them. And I think that having knowledge of the fact that some lessons are just unteachable is actually really beneficial, because you can be going through something, and rather than kind of taking this victim mentality of like, woe is me, or like, I should have listened to that person, or why didn't I do this, or why didn't I do that? You can just chalk it down to the fact of like, this is just the price that I'm paying to learn this lesson. And I feel like there's a lot of freedom in that, right? There's a lot of freedom in the fact of like, there are going to be things that no one else can tell you, or they are going to tell you, but you're not going to listen, because you have to feel it for yourself. And I know that I'm personally one of these people that has to feel it for myself. I have to feel the evidence of consequences of my decision. And that doesn't have to be negative consequences. I say consequences like it can be positive, it can be negative, it could be neutral, right? But ultimately you have to go through some things before that actually registers like on a deeper level, on a subconscious level in your brain, because the emotional impact of that has been so great that it does register and it does leave a mark on you, right? And that's it. That's the 5 lessons. I hope that you've enjoyed it. I hope that it's gone some way in terms of, maybe you not making exactly the same mistakes I did. If there was one thing on this list that I really, really, really encourage you to do, it's contract and payment up front, right? That is the most important one, and something that took me too long to learn as well. So with all of this being said, hope you enjoyed the video. Feel free to check out the rest of the videos on the channel. I produce weekly videos, like I said, to essentially help you accelerate your journey if you are trying to build a creative service-based business. But that is me signing off. Take care.